Handheld gaming has been around in one way or another since the early days of video games. The very first handheld video game was made by Mattel, you know, the Barbie people. The guys that did He-Man. Worth mentioning, there were also some at the time by the Parker brothers. Maybe also Milton Bradley, I'd have to look it up. There was a big thing with American toy and board game companies just competing for handheld gaming. It is safe to say that handheld gaming didn't become much of a thing amongst the video game enjoyers until probably 1989 when Nintendo debuted the Game Boy. This particular Game Boy is my wife's from the 90s, and yes, I am aware that the front screen is missing. Do not worry, a replacement part is on the way. This is on the tip top of my refurbishing to-do list. Now, the Game Boy might have been the first handheld console to really, speak to gamers, but it wasn't Nintendo's first handheld console by a long shot. In fact, the late Gunpei Yokoi, before inventing the Game Boy, invented a little handheld called the Game & Watch. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have a passing familiarity with the term Game & Watch. I'm sure a few of you just said, hey, that's the little funny stick man from Smash. Well, he's not just the little funny stick man from Smash, he's also a very vital part to what became the handheld gaming landscape. I'm talking to you, Cameron. Sit down, you're gonna learn something today. The first ever Game & Watch was a small 2-button system with the game Ball. Ball is a fairly simple game where you use the right and left buttons on the sides of the console, for lack of a better word, to juggle balls, literally. After Ball, Nintendo would make a number of other Game & Watch games, eventually making a dual-screened Donkey Kong game, based on the success of their Donkey Kong arcades. Game & Watch became a fairly regular thing with Nintendo for quite a few years, up until the Game Boy. The Game Boy kind of shifted things. Understandably, it's a lot better. The original Game & Watches were literally on little LCD screens. The idea was a small game console that was very simple, easy to put in your pocket, and about the size of, like, a calculator. That's what all early handheld games were. They were just supposed to be little pocket calculator-sized somethings that you could play with while commuting to work, or waiting for something, or just to battle boredom. It was something to occupy your mind while on the go, similar to the types of games that you now find on the app stores, but these didn't suck ass. My first introduction to Game & Watch in general was a little re-release that they redid with Mario characters on the Game Boy. I believe it was on the Game Boy Color, and they did a few fun little re-releases on their various handheld consoles after that. I know that at one point there was a Club Nintendo reward that was Game & Watch games for the DS. What I'm really here to talk about is the re-releases, the kind of new-ish Game & Watches. These both came out as anniversary editions of Mario and Zelda, respectively. The Mario one is the original color scheme of both the original Game & Watch as well as the OG Famicom controller, whereas the other one is reminiscent of that, but with green because Zelda. These are nice because not only are they loaded with numerous games, but they have a little working clock. Look at that. Nice. The Mario one is loaded with Super Mario Bros. 1 and 2, as well as a little redo of the original Ball game, where they swap out Mr. Game & Watch with a little Mr. Game & Watchified Mario. The Legend of Zelda one is loaded up with the original Legend of Zelda Link's Adventure, Link's Awakening, not the DX color version from the Game Boy Color, but the original version from the Game Boy, which confuses me because the other games are in color. Why didn't we just do the in color one? There weren't really any other changes to the controls. It just was in color. Whatever, it's cool to have the original. As well as a Legend of Zelda-ified version of Vermin, another classic Game & Watch game. But this time they swap out Mr. Game & Watch with Link. Vermin is just whack-a-mole. It's just whack-a-mole. You just whack-a-mole with Link. That's what it is. These are honestly really nice little products. The quality of the plastic as well as the little metal plates in the front is just really nice. The main buttons are all kind of rubbery, kind of like the classic ones were. It's very reminiscent, again, of the types of buttons you'd see in a calculator. And the D-pads, though I'd rather move them up, for myself, I'd like them to be a little bit closer to the middle. Personally, for my own comfort, they are comfortable D-pads. Like, they are effective D-pads. The battery life in them isn't bad. It's not amazing. You know, if you have the brightness turned all the way up and you were just constantly playing these games for hours and hours and hours, you will have to plug in it. But they do take USB-C. So you can literally charge them with what you might charge your phone with, unless you have an iPhone, or with your Switch charger, or, you know, I can use my Chromebook charger to charge these little guys. It's really nice. It's very convenient. When they released, I believe they were like 60, 50, something like that dollars, which I think is a little much, personally. These are classic games. These are some of the best classic games in existence, objectively, but that price is still a little steep. These are no longer at regular like store shelves. You might get lucky and find one at like GameStop, but I would say if you find them, there's an abundance of them out there. They made a lot of these. So if you're like me and you really want them, it's not super hard to find them for a decent price on eBay. I got the Mario one for under 20 bucks, and I got the Zelda one for around 30, and it included a little stand to put it on, which my 3-year-old lost a piece to, and so now it doesn't work. Regardless, you can get these for a very decent price now. There's a lot of them. And though the Zelda one didn't come with the original box, the Mario one did, and it's a very nice little box. Am I going to keep the box? I don't know. But I do like how reminiscent it is of the original Game & Watch boxes. Overall, I just think these are a really neat little novelty to have. I've really found myself over the last few months taking them with me to hotels, taking them with me when I'm going to the doctor, because I can fiddle around and play Mario or Zelda just for quite a while instead of playing some phone game that's gonna try to get money from me. These really have become just my go-to, I need something to mess with while I'm waiting for something games. You know, it's very easy to take those along with you to a trip or anything like that. You know, they're nice. A few weeks before recording this, I went to go see Green Day Rancid and the Linda Lindas in St. Louis, and I knew that we were going to be at the hotel for quite a few hours before we were even ready to leave to go to the show. This right here kept me entertained because I cannot focus on anything without something to keep me entertained. I really need to see a doctor about that. This became a nice little distraction for me before I went and pre-gamed at a cocktail bar, because that was cheaper than drinking at the concert. And higher quality, frankly. Regardless, I think if you're a fan of video game history, of video games, of Nintendo, what have you, I think these are a nice little thing to have in your collection. I personally adore these little things. They're great. They're super thin. They just fit right in your pocket, or like a suit pocket. Say you're going somewhere and you need to wear a blazer. That'll fit right in there. Then whatever boring ass event they're making you dress up for, you're at least not bored the whole time. I know they're novelty, I know they're kind of silly, but I really like having them. They're nice to have. Not only are they a cool nod to the history of handheld gaming, but they're just cool. Anyway, I think that'll be about it for this one. If you liked this video, please like, hit that subscribe, leave me a comment. Either way, thank you for watching. See you guys next time. Be kind to each other.